Hello everybody. So, I'm making this video for a few reasons. One, because for those who don't know, I have been on an RTS course as laid out for me from the DWP since roughly about the beginning of November. And about 2 weeks ago, I went, well, actually, it was probably this time last week, I went for a job interview down a certain place, and I ended up getting the job because one, it was the single most confident interview I've ever given in my life, and 2 days later, I was called and said, "Congratulations! Can you start on the 26th at 10 in the morning?" And I very gladly accepted. However, this seems to have come into a bit of conflict with the course I'm on. And whilst I was in the process of just trying to sort all this out, I get asked, about how exactly I was going to keep this up. And I told them that I'll sort of circumnavigate it in such a way because this job at the moment, it's contracted so far on 32 hours a week. I'm sure by the end of this small training period, which shouldn't take too long to get up to speed, will last for about 6 weeks, and then they'll sort of move it up to 40 hours. That's the first thing I wanted to address. However, with that being said, the powers that be seem to have suggested the idea that, well, you're signing up with us, so you're going to be doing this work until such time has passed until you actually, you start grafting and stuff like that. The way they put it is though a lot of money had already been spent on getting me to this stage and having to do me medical, and having to tell them I was autistic, and in which case they need to do a further evaluation. I don't know why, because quite frankly, I've proven I'm more than capable of doing the work I'm on, and yeah, it's like, well, what are they going to do? Not allow me to go on just because of something that's completely out of my control? It's one of those things I don't really understand, and to be honest, the way they kind of, I listen, because I'm just gonna put it to you straight, guys. I've been in for this for nearly 4 months now, and then I get told there is a final part of your training which lasts for 2 weeks, and it's like safety critical training. RTS. I didn't think to mention this before. RTS, as in Railway Track and Service Engineer, is what they're sort of putting me in training for. And then when all of this happens, I must admit, I am in no way, shape, or form ever going to be bullied or reprimanded into making a decision, because that sort of thing just doesn't fly with me. At the end of the day, it's my decision and it's my call, because I told them, you know what, I want to be able to earn more money for be able to do these things. It's as simple as that. If I want more money, then I'm gonna have to work, and That's just the way I see it. You know what? Circumstances change, but considering that again, 4 months down the line, and I haven't even earned a single penny yet from this, I'm beginning to. I want to know exactly when I'm actually able to start work, because this whole final 2 weeks kind of seems like it came out of nowhere, and listen, I've been sold this before, where they said only another 2 weeks, and then they actually don't end up giving you what you want. Who's to say by the time I get to the end of this, I'm guaranteed to be in work, or what work will there be when this is all over? I know there is work. Don't get me wrong, but is it going to be any more than, let's say, 24 hours a week, stuff like that? Because if it's not worth my while, then you know what I'll do what I'm capable of. There's no doubt about that. I'm just kind of surprised that given my reputation, how I've turned up to every single lecture, I turned up for every single event, I've managed to get a crack on with the work. I've had no complaints or anything like that. I go through all this, and considering that there are some people who I'm gonna say punctuality seems to be a bit back and forth sometimes with some people, but whatever, so sometimes things don't work out and stuff like that. But that hasn't affected me. So call it what you will. And then whilst all this is going on, even when I had like a telephone appointment with the DWP earlier this afternoon, and when it finally got round that they heard that I'd gotten the job, even though I put it in my journal and stuff like that, even my work coach didn't exactly sound the most enthusiastic about it either. Which leads into this theory that I've kind of had, so that when the DWP has been putting me on these courses or been putting me through these guaranteed interviews, one could almost say it seems like a form of exploitation. Because I'll tell you honestly, true story, ladies and gentlemen, when it all started the previous March, I went to them and I was absolutely like in tears about this. I was absolutely at the end of my rope, and I told them I literally can't go on living like this. I can't bear not being able to actually work and graft and get on with it. So honestly, the work coach I had at the time literally turned around and said, how about we put you on one of these swaps, and it's like a 10-day course and stuff like that. And she also said it was a guaranteed job interview at the end. This is, by the way, that same guaranteed job interview that not only never happened, but they said that I'd gotten the job anyway, and they didn't even think to get in touch about it. So I'm still in pursuit of that, because I honestly consider that fraud. And whether they like it or not, that's something they still have not answered me for. And I don't think I'll ever get... I may not ever get an answer to this, but I'm going to try. I'm going to absolutely find out. Because guess what? Those days of trying to intimidate me, bully me, exploit me, blackmail me, all of that stuff is over. Nobody is going to be taking advantage of me ever again. You know what? The buck stops right now. Because guess what? No, this is all... This is the third time in the last 12 months when I've been with the DWP, and I've managed to find work without their help. So, you know, what would anybody else say to stuff like that? And besides, if all goes according to plan, ladies and gentlemen, even by this time next year, I will never have to go back to them ever again. Or I won't even have to think about it, because guess what? Rich or poor, I am not putting myself in this situation again. It's simply not happening. It's as simple as that. The circumstances about how this came about in the first place are not great, but to be honest, neither were the people who put me on the job in the first place. So guess what? I don't think there's any love lost there at all. So with that being said, I'd say, well, there's still work to be done. But guess what? At least I'll be working for myself, because that's kind of how I see it. I see it as I'm working for myself, because guess what? I will be the one who has the final say in the end. It's also why, ladies and gentlemen, I actually quite like the idea of carrying this bat around. This is insurance, by the way. I've always referred to this bat as insurance, because sometimes you do need to take out a little bit of insurance to compensate you against the sort of people who think that they could get away without giving you any sort of insurance whatsoever. They may say they do, but you know what? Saying and doing are two very, very separate things, aren't they? It also feels good that what could technically be classed as a weapon in such context, but guess what? You actually hold it in two hands. It feels powerful. It feels like you almost hold something that can make all the difference. And it's a lot, ladies and gentlemen. It's a lot to hold power in your own two hands. But guess what? That's kind of what all of this feels like. It feels like I have got some level of power back. I've actually got some level of leverage, that this is not something I can be forced one way or the other about. It feels good, ladies and gentlemen. It feels empowering, insofar as what I can work out. That is, well, my insurance. And I say for the next couple of days, well, guess what? This is me stepping up, ready to bat.